Sekiro Shadows Die Twice is sneaking up onto our... You know what? That doesn't really work, does it? It's not sneaking. Everyone knows it's coming. Sekiro Shadows Die Twice is a stealth game though, a stealth game made by From Software and video game director Hidetaka Miyazaki, best known for their work on Dark Souls and 2015 masterpiece Bloodborne. That's my favourite thing ever. It's inspired by Tenchu, which is Jake's favourite thing ever, and was created, of course, in Japan, Liam's favourite thing ever. To celebrate the launch of this hotly anticipated game, oh god, I hope it's good, we thought we'd tell you about our favourite stealth moments in gaming history. Here it is. Cheers.
I'm looking forward to Sekiro because it's a game about, well, being a ninja with a grappling hook, going around doing wall hugs and slitting the throats of enemies, which is an experience I've already had 22 years ago with Tenchu, which is a game about being a ninja with a grappling hook, slicing throats and hugging walls. But there's a very specific moment in one of the Tenchu games, and it's Tenchu 2, that really, I don't know, it sticks with me more than the other moments. A lot of Tenchu is jumping onto roofs, poisoning rice cakes, but because they had a problem with rendering all this information and all the data, they used a lot of mist. But there's this one level in Tenchu 2 called the Demon Mountain Pass, and it's, well, the plot's in the title. You're climbing up a mountain pass while there's demons there, and it's a bit weird normally because a lot of the enemies in Tenchu are just bad humans, like, you know what I mean, bandits and stuff. These are actually demons. You know what I mean? They're not of this world. And you're climbing up this cliffside. It's something I've seen Neo emulate more recently, where you're going along the edges and you've got to be careful not to fall off. It's harder to sort of stealth around and use grappling hooks, although there are nice crags and good opportunities to use the grappling hook. You've got to use a lot of timing and shimmying and stuff like that. That always stands out. I don't know if it's because it was a change in environment and it went from a village to something like with more natural obstacles, like a mountain, but there's also like there's these caverns in there, you go outside, you go around, there's just something very memorable about it. Picking off these demons, which are harder enemies than regular humans because they're demons, in this one-hit kill fashion, could only be obtained if you were being very, very careful and taking your time. So it was very methodical, and the effort you put in was really rewarded because you got out of loads of scraps. So I really like that moment in Tenchu 2, the Demon Mountain Pass. I think it was like the 5th level or something, but the Rikimaru playthrough especially is something that can be almost achieved perfectly through not being spotted once if you take your time. So Chicken Run, based off the film Chicken Run, is actually a game that I think had a lot of different elements. There was mini games and stuff like that, but the vast majority of the action, like the moment-to-moment action, was stealth, and it was like insta-fail stealth. If you were caught by the dogs prowling the chicken coop, I guess, you'd get immediately caught and you'd have to start again. And so the sort of premise of Chicken Run is based on The Great Escape, so it's just some chickens trying to escape. That's the premise of Chicken Run, not The Great Escape. Chickens have got to try and escape the coop because they're going to get made into pies. And as an elaborate scheme, you sort of make this fake farmer's wife using like leftover Wellington boots and dresses and stuff like that. So one of the early missions of the game, you have to stealth through the farmer's land into the back garden whilst, you know, Mrs. Tweedy's in the kitchen washing up and stuff like that. You've got to avoid all the lights, avoid the angry spiked-collared dogs, and the thrill of hiding in a Wellington boot when a dog's making its round is something like no other. When you did then find the item that you needed, may it be like scissors or cloth or something, you then had to sort of waddle your way back to the coop. But because you had an item in your hands, it was really quite difficult to be as stealthy because you had to drop the item before you got into said boot or like a plant pot or whatever. It was proper sort of clenched up moment for me, and I remember really struggling with it and getting impatient and stuff, but the thrill of completing it, and when you finally got past that area, you finally got out of the garden, it's like no other. It's one of the best things about stealth ever for me, and it was a fucking chicken.
So one of my favourite stealth moments in any game is breaking into people's houses in Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. Not many people remember this actually. In fact, Jake and Liam had no idea what I was talking about. They looked at me like a lunatic. It was sort of a mini game, like Strand, if I remember rightly. I think there was one like story mission where you had to break into someone's house with like a van, and then you had to go around the house. You had to like rob the TV, the hi-fi, general sort of burglary shenanigans. And if you went upstairs, closer to where the people were asleep, obviously the you know, you got more money for being a bit more daring, and there was like a little stealth bar, so you had to move quietly, and if you were like moving too loud, if you just like ran in and grabbed one thing and legged it, sure, you'd probably get a bit of money, but like you had to try and be more careful and stealth your way through. But San Andreas was like such a big game that like I think probably this was quite overlooked by a lot of people. What it actually meant was that like a huge amount of the buildings in the game you could break into, you could go into like loads of these buildings. And this was like weirdly one of the things about San Andreas that got me really excited before the game came out, because I was reading all these magazine previews about how big San Andreas was, and the fact that you could just go into all of these buildings and rob them, that was like really enticing to me for some reason. Like just the idea that you could go into a huge amount of the buildings that would otherwise in other games they would just be like background, like set dressing, but in Grand Theft Auto San Andreas you could go inside those buildings and rob them.
Fire on your mark! Reach the tonsils and gallows! I said toast! Toast before, hurry!
Another standout for sure is Assassin's Creed Black Flag, actually, the part where you had to stealth your giant ass pirate ship through like ports and stuff like that. There hasn't been a huge amount of stealth in Assassin's Creed games. I think in Assassin's Creed 3 they tried to give you the ability to like hide behind desks and stuff like that, and in Assassin's Creed Unity there was a bit more focus on stealth. There's only one game that gave you stealthing pirate ships, and that was Assassin's Creed Black Flag. I mean, it really says a lot about the Assassin's Creed series that, you know, having boats, stealthing around in boats was more of a thing than being an actual assassin. I think the part where you could like rummage around in leaves and stuff, and that's, you know, you could stealth around by getting in a bush, that was like the only stealth option you had on land. But you got on your boat and there was actual story missions about like having to navigate these like tight rivers and stuff, you know, where there was, I don't know, there was like searchlights or some shit like that, and you had to just kind of sneak through in your like 18th century naval vessel, like this giant boat. You had to sneak through a port or something. I couldn't believe what I was playing, really, and it clearly left an impression.
Do you hear me, Snake? I am the end.
So one of my favourite stealth moments is actually from Metal Gear Solid 3, where you have the boss fight against the End. So if you don't know who the End is, he's an old man and he's a sniper. And he's got this like camouflage ability where he can literally change his skin to adapt to his environment. You have this great little fight where it's a big open valley, there's like green trees everywhere, you're in the jungle, and he's got this like moss camouflage on, and he's like hiding, and he's got a sniper. And he could be anywhere in this big like open area. So you can take him on in many different ways. You can get a sniper yourself, you can have like a nice little sniper battle, you can sneak up on him using your own camouflage and like tranquilize him and hold him up and everything. Or you can actually put your PS2 clock forward and he'll just die of old age. The greatest stealth of all, just wait it out. But it's a great fight, and I think it ranks up highly on Metal Gear moments. It's always like at the top 10 Metal Gear Solid moments, and it's just memorable. It's probably just because of how unique a boss fight it is. I don't think there's been a Metal Gear fight quite like it, and it's probably one of the highlights of the series. So yeah, Metal Gear Solid 3. So another favourite stealth moment of mine isn't really a moment at all, but it's when you first discover that you can hide yourself on roofs in Splinter Cell by doing the Van Damme leg split. And you can let guards pass by you, you can just stay up there if you want, but best of all, you can just drop down, knock them out, they never even knew you were there. Yeah, just having this ability, I don't think any other game apart from Splinter Cell has done this type of thing, and it really does make you feel like a stealthy badass, where you're literally keeping yourself suspended in midair just with the power of your thighs. What's not to like about that? Yeah, Splinter Cell, it's one of the best stealth games around, and why hasn't Ubisoft made another one? Come on Ubisoft, just please make another Splinter Cell game.